highlighting the topics that affect agriculture nationwide. It's the AgNet Weekly with Sabrina Halvorson, brought to you by AgNet Media. And now, here's this week's featured conversation.
A group of lawmakers is putting some weight on the USDA National Agricultural Statistics Service in response to NASS cutting off some important reports. NASS cited budget restraints when it announced last month that it would stop producing several reports, including the July cattle report, the Cotton Objective Yield Survey, and county estimates for crops and livestock reports. U.S. Representative Tracey Mann, a Republican from Kansas, who is also chairman of the House Agriculture Committee's Subcommittee on Livestock, Dairy, and Poultry, is among lawmakers leading the charge to get a turnaround from NASS. I talked with Representative Mann to get more information. This is something that my listeners have been talking about a lot, and that is, of course, the reports that NASS has said that they're discontinuing. So you jumped right on this and are trying to get that changed. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, and for your listeners that don't know, last month the USDA, National Ag Statistics Service, NASS, announced that they're going to cancel the July cattle report, and they're going to discontinue the Cotton Objective Yield Survey and other county estimates for crop and livestock. They did not let us know in advance. They just made this announcement as someone that grew up on a farm. I know firsthand we rely on this data, this information. Producers need it. There has been no good reason the USDA has given for not putting this report together. So we're leaning hard on them to do what they ought to do, and that's issue these reports here in July.
As you said, too, there was not any advanced warning. There was no, public comment period or anything like that on if they should keep it. Do you think that there's still an opportunity for people to have their voices heard on how important these reports are to them?
I'm optimistic, yeah, and that's why we've been leaning in. A lot of conversations, sent letters, made it very clear, and we have a whole bunch of co-sponsors as well that this action is not okay. The ag community uses these reports to manage risk, build supply and demand estimates, develop market forecast, and evaluate the economic impact of natural disasters. Canceling or discontinuing these reports hinders our great ag producers' ability to do what they do best, and that's feed and fuel and clothe the world. So it's very disappointing what we've seen come out of the USDA on this.
So you've sent a letter, and as you said, you've had a lot of people have also joined you in voicing their support of keeping these reports going. Can you tell me a little bit about what the letter said?
Well, just the letter said that disappointed, Secretary disappointed in this action, and that the reports need to be issued in July on time. And again, reminding them, and I've been reminding people in this town in Washington, D.C., our producers manage a lot of risk, and you've got to have market information to be able to do that. And that's why just what seems like, willy-nilly pulling this report makes absolutely no sense to me.
Farmers and ranchers, they have to juggle so many different things. And with the costs of everything going up, but especially we've had such high costs of inputs lately. We've had, you never know what the markets are going to do. So many things that they're balancing. To not have this information, and you may know something about this personally, but to not have this information available, what could that mean for a farmer?
Well, it means that they are having to make very large business decisions, marketing decisions without the information. The markets rely on this data so that markets work and function. In many ways, good data is one of the bedrocks or the keystones to functioning appropriate markets. And to just withdraw and prevent this information from being assembled when we know the USDA has the staff, they have the people, they've been doing it for decades. Very, very disappointed, actually infuriating that this is the action that they've taken, which is why we are pushing back and doing everything that we can do to convince them to reverse course.
So tell me again a little bit more about what are some of the things that you are able to do to push back?
Well, we've talked to them, talked to their office at a staff level, many phone calls from me to them. We have been in the media about this issue. We sent a letter and got other members of Congress to co-sponsor it. It's a full court press, hands on deck to get them to reverse course.
What would be the importance of producers and farmers, the boots on the ground, joining the lawmakers in voicing their concerns?
I think incredibly important. I think any producer that's frustrated by this action as well would be great if the U.S. Department of Agriculture heard from all producers directly, not just from members of Congress. We're going to keep, jumping up and down and making as much noise about this as we can. But the more producers that they're listening to or hearing from, the better. So I would encourage listeners, if this is something they're concerned about or impacted by, to make that voice known.
And this is probably an unfair question, and you don't have to answer it, but I keep racking my brain trying to think of what other business would be forced to try to continue doing business with, one of their main reports, main source of information being just completely taken away from them without any advance notice. I can't think of any other industry.
I can't think of a single one either. Yeah, it just makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
Why they would do this. It seems arbitrary, seems punitive, and is frankly pretty ridiculous.
So I've got listeners around the nation, and if we were to wrap this, sum this all up, what would be what you really want them to know and to remember?
Well, I would just, remember that we've got to make our voices heard, and when things like this occur, we've got to speak up loudly. We're doing that as loudly as I possibly can here in Washington, D.C., but need folks, producers all over the country to do the same thing and to let USDA know that this is not acceptable and that they need to publish information.
All right. I want to thank you once again for your time. I know that you're busy.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, thanks for having me. Have a great day.
Continue the conversation online by following Sabrina Halvorson on Facebook, X, and LinkedIn. And get more agricultural news at southeastagnet.com and agnetwest.com. This has been the AgNet Weekly from AgNet Media. Thank you for tuning in.